Hey everyone, ready to dive into something fun? We're tackling St. Patrick's Day today.
A great choice. Lots to uncover there.
Yeah, I figured people might be brushing up for, trivia night.
Always a good reason.
Or maybe they just see it everywhere and want to know what it's really about, beyond the beer and leprechauns.
Right. There's a whole history there, for sure.
We've got some great stuff to work with today. Historical accounts, cultural stuff, even some stats on Irish Americans, the whole deal.
It's amazing how much there is when you dig in.
Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to really get what this holiday is about from its start to how it's changed.
I'm in. Where should we begin?
Well, everyone thinks of parades and parties.
Yeah, it's a big part of it now.
But it wasn't always that way, right?
Not at all. You got to remember, the root of it is a religious thing. It's about honoring the patron saint of Ireland.
St. Patrick himself. His story is wild.
Yeah.
So he was born in Roman Britain, but kidnapped as a teen and taken to Ireland as a slave.
It's a pretty intense start to a life, yeah.
He did escape, though.
Yeah.
But then he goes back to convert the people who'd enslaved him. What makes someone do that?
It's going to be faith, right? That level of dedication.
Yeah. But also, think about Ireland back then. 5th century wasn't all Christianity, was it?
No way. They had their own beliefs, strong ties to nature,
Right.
mythology, all that.
So maybe St. Patrick was smart about it.
Yeah,
Not just preaching at them, but finding common ground.
exactly. He adapted to what they understood. And that's where, I bet you know what I'm going to say,
Get me with it.
the shamrock comes in.
The shamrock. Every St. Patrick's Day, there it is.
Right. So picture this. You're trying to explain the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Pretty abstract concept.
Super abstract,
Yeah.
especially people who are like, all about nature, spirits and stuff. But then you hold up a shamrock.
3 leaves, 1 stem. I see what you're getting at.
A visual metaphor they could grasp. It bridged their beliefs with the new teachings.
Clever guy. No wonder it worked.
And that's just the beginning. Here's a fun fact for you. Think the first St. Patrick's Day was in Ireland.
Well, yeah. Where else would it be?
Nope. It was in St. Augustine, Florida.
Florida. You're kidding. What year are we talking about here?
1601. Way back.
Whoa. Okay, so early connections between Spain and Ireland, maybe?
Could be. Shows Irish folks were in those settlements.
But also, it kind of hints at something bigger. We think of the feast days starting in Ireland,
Naturally.
but those huge parades, the parties.
Oh, yeah. Those really got going in America.
For example, the first big New York City parade.
1766. Already a tradition by then.
So it's like it started as one thing in Ireland,
Yeah.
but America made it something else.
More outward facing, maybe.
Less about religion, more about being Irish, loud and proud.
And think about the context. Irish immigrants, tons of them, come into the U.S.
And not always an easy time for them, I'd imagine.
Not at all. Prejudice, trying to fit in. St. Patrick's Day became this way to show their heritage.
Like a, hey, we're here, deal with it kind of thing.
Exactly. It was unity, resilience. And those parades, everyone saw them.
It wasn't just a quiet feast day anymore.
Nope. Big, bold, everyone knew about it. And as that caught on in America,
It started to change how others saw the day, too.
absolutely.
Which makes sense. Parades are fun. Who doesn't love a good party, right?
True that. But let's not forget, even today, there are a lot of people celebrating this.
Yeah, how many people in the U.S. claim Irish ancestry now? It's got to be a lot.
Over 30.5 million. And that's just in 2023.
Wow. And I bet there's some serious celebrating going on in places like Cook County, Illinois.
Home of Chicago.
They have the biggest Irish American population in the U.S., right?
Yep, over 434,000. Bet their parade is amazing.
And it's not just the U.S. anymore, is it? This went global.
Worldwide phenomenon.
So we've gone from a saint in Ireland to green beer in, I don't know, Japan probably.
Exactly. That's the power of culture, right? How it spreads and changes.
But as we get into how it all happened, it's worth asking.
What do you mean?
Do we really understand St. Patrick's Day? All the layers of it, not just the surface stuff.
Good question. Where do we even start with that?
Okay, so we've talked about how St. Patrick's Day kind of blew up in America, but it's more than just like a popularity contest.
Oh, absolutely. Think about those early parades again. They weren't just for show. They were really important for how the holiday changed,
In what way?
Right.
Like more than just Irish pride on display.
Yeah, it was deeper than that. It was the 1800s, waves of Irish immigrants coming in. A lot of them faced, prejudice, discrimination, Hard times.
So St. Patrick's Day was a way to push back against that.
In a way, yeah, it was like saying, look, we're Irish, we're here, get used to it. It was about unity, being strong together when things were tough.
I can see how the parades would fit into that. Everyone saw them, no hiding it.
Right, it wasn't just a small private thing anymore. But then, as it got so big, so American, it started to change how other people saw the day, too, not just the Irish.
And of course, then you've got the whole commercial side of things. Green beer, leprechauns everywhere. Some people probably think that ruins the real meaning, right? Makes it just another excuse to party.
Sure, some people feel that way. Commercialization can kind of overshadow the real history. But it's not all bad either.
How do you mean?
Well, it's made St. Patrick's Day more, approachable. People from all backgrounds get into it now, even if it's a simplified version sometimes.
It's that whole thing, right? Appreciation versus appropriation. It happens with a lot of traditions once they go global.
Exactly. Got to be careful not to step on any toes, but also there's genuine interest there. A lot of folks want to celebrate, learn about Irish culture, even if it starts with the fun stuff.
Okay, so speaking of celebrating, what are some of the big traditions now? Obviously, parades are huge. And then there's all the green, like everything's green.
Even the river in Chicago, remember? That's pretty iconic.
Oh, yeah. They dye the whole river green. Started back in '62, I think.
Wild, right. And it really caught on. People love it.
Shows how traditions can morph and take on a life of their own. And then, of course, there's the food.
Oh, yeah. Gotta have the food. Corned beef and cabbage, soda bread, all that good stuff.
Makes you feel connected to the culture, even if some of it's more Irish-American than actual Irish.
That's true. Some of those dishes evolved over here.
It's all about how things blend and change as they move around.
Yeah.
But even with all the fun, the parties, it's important to remember that for a lot of people, St. Patrick's Day is still very meaningful, especially folks with Irish heritage.
No doubt. It's about connecting with their roots, remembering where they came from, honoring their ancestors, and the whole history of the Irish people, what they've overcome.
It's their day to be proud. Share that with everyone.
And even though the celebrations might look different in Ireland itself, that feeling, that pride and community, it's still at the heart of it, no matter where you are. It really does. Whether it's a quiet family thing in Dublin or a massive parade in New York, the spirit of St. Patrick's Day kind of ties it all together.
So as we raise a glass, or maybe a shamrock, to St. Patrick's Day, let's think about everything we've learned, the history, how it's changed, all the different ways people celebrate.
It's a reminder that cultures are always evolving, taking from each other, creating something new. St. Patrick's Day is a great example of that. But now let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about America, the global picture, but what about Ireland itself?
Okay, so we've covered how St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in America and all over the world. But what about Ireland itself? Is it as, crazy and commercial as we see elsewhere?
It's funny you should ask that because in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day has really kept that strong connection to its roots. The religious side, the national identity.
So it's less about green beer and more about cultural stuff, the real deal.
Exactly. Think family gatherings, church services, traditional music and dancing. It's a time to really connect with their history, their families, what it truly means to be Irish.
It's like a going back to the source kind of thing, right?
Yeah, you could say that. A homecoming. But it makes me wonder, how do they see all the more commercial stuff, the leprechauns, the globalized version we've been talking about?
Yeah, do they roll their eyes at that? That's not what it's about.
Well, it's complicated. You get different opinions. Some folks love that the world's embraced the holiday, that it's a way to share Irish culture. Others, they're a bit more, critical, like the real meaning gets lost in all the noise.
Kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's great that people are interested, but maybe they're missing the point sometimes.
It's about finding that balance. Appreciation is great, but you got to be careful not to slip into, stereotypes and stuff that can be offensive.
Right. Makes you think about how we approach other cultures in general, not just on holidays. So as we wrap this deep dive up, what's the big takeaway for everyone listening? What should they be thinking about, maybe as they head out to a parade or enjoy a St. Patrick's Day meal?
I'd say be curious, be respectful, learn about what you're celebrating, the history, the traditions, why it matters. And remember, cultures are complex. They change, they grow. What we see on the surface isn't always the whole story.
Well said. And what a story it's been. We started with a 5th century saint, and look where we ended up. Parades, green beer, celebrations all over the place. It's amazing how much St. Patrick's Day has evolved.
From quiet religious day to global phenomenon, and we learned about St. Patrick himself, how he spread Christianity in Ireland, all the twists and turns the holiday took.
So this St. Patrick's Day, as you raise your glass, or maybe a shamrock, think back on what we talked about. Have fun, celebrate responsibly, but also appreciate the history. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
And maybe, just maybe, think about this. How does your own understanding of St. Patrick's Day fit in with all this? The origins, the changes, what it means in today's world?
That's a good one to ponder, isn't it? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep those questions coming.